Welcome back to the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship here at Fuji Speedway. This is round 3. We're into qualifying run number 2. And Ryan, we did a little math during the break. Looks like we've got 35 scores, but we have 57 drivers. So a few zeros out there that need to be improved on. This driver does not have one. A zero, that is. He's got a 77. He's safe so far. It looks like the cutoff dropped down to about 72, 73. But I think as the conditions, if they stay relatively stable and no rain, we're going to see that number get a little bit higher. Matthew Hill, Four-Man's Automotive in the S15 Sylvia. Way early initiation. Smoke line being drawn, heading out to that outside zone. He's going to come up short. Transition's pretty smooth into that second outside zone. A foot or two off that first inside clip. A little bit short on the final outside zone. So even though it is a 2-turn course, some of the drivers still struggling here on run number 2. A 77 is going to want to be increased by Matthew Hill, Ryan. So let's take a look here at this second run.
Yeah, missed a big opportunity on outside zone 1. Pretty good job on outside zone 2, though. The inside clip number 1 could have been closer, definitely there, and was not very wide on outside zone 3. So he left some points in those key areas that, you know, usually I say, oh, he's got a chance on the second run to clean that up, but that was his second run. So I don't think line-wise he did better on his second run than he did on his first.
So Matthew Hill planned to join the Formula Drift Japan Championship for all of 2019. Unable to make the first 2 rounds, trying to make up some ground here as scores starting to come in. The first driver that is going to be done with qualifying is going to lock in a 76. So it is not going to improve on his first run. He's actually going to come up 1 point short. So he's going to hope that that will hold throughout competition. Tetsuro Nakata, our next driver, the JZX 100 Mark II, running the Tri-Ace tires. 67 on his first run. Early initiation, low line, and because of that, he's not able to push out wide. Comes up a bit short on that second outside zone as well. A bit closer on that inside clip, but the last few drivers have even missed outside zone 3. Oh. So Ryan, let's take a look at this second run here. Another driver leaving a few points on the table.
Yeah, definitely missing outside zone 1 as well. Didn't get out wide to outside zone 2, missed inside clip 1 and outside zone 3. So points were lost at every one of the outside zones and inside clips. So definitely need to clean that up if he's going to be, you know, running those lead runs, needing to do a better job in the lead position when it comes to the actual tandem side of things.
All right, so he had a 67. Shouldn't be too difficult to increase that score, but not sure that that's going to do it. Really needs to get into the mid, at least the low to mid 70s to make the cutoff right now. He's going to do it. He's going to bump up by 9 points, so it's a 76. That'll tie him for at least 3 other drivers that have a 76 on their first run. So with the 71 in his first run,
which is the cutoff now.
Which is now the cutoff. Teruyoshi Iwai in a beautiful looking RX-7.
And there are 3 drivers with that score of 71, so he definitely needs to increase that by a few points to secure himself a spot.
So starting to fill in some of the details here. Iwai gets out there right on that white line, transitions shallow, doesn't fill the second outside zone. The inside clip was driving by with a beautiful smoke line that looked very continuous there, so did a great job in that section of the course. and was still able to get out to that final and third outside zone, but unfortunately did have a mistake there early on, Ryan. And he does have that 71. Will that better in run number 2?
I think his line score is going to improve based on what I've got here. He did miss outside zone 2, but he did a great job in outside zone 1. Outside zone 3, you can see here, was just off of it. Could have been a little bit tighter on that white line. But overall, it looked like a pretty smooth run, so this may be an improvement for him. And it is.
A big improvement in 83, so we are seeing some of the drivers step up under pressure here. That should give him some cushioning to what we have so far as the cutoff. And here is our first driver that did have an incomplete on his first run. It's Taichi Isano in the S15 Secret Racing Sylvia.
And this is where those scores are going to really jump, because these drivers that had zeros are now going to be scoring and getting points on the board. So they're going to actually shift this current standings quite a bit.
The Federal driver gets the first outer zone pretty good. Oh, nice rotation there. Oh no, almost has a mistake in the front 2 wheels, but he's going to pull it off and get a scored run here. He does not buckle under the pressure, and now it's all about where will that score fall. Let's take a look here as he leaves the chicane, Ryan, and he got a pretty good start on his initiation, and first outside zone looked pretty good as well.
Yeah, he got angle by about the 3 cone. Could have had more angle at outside zone 1, but did a good job of filling it. Outside zone 2, he had a great line through there, but then took out a lot of angle through inside clip number 1 and finished strong on outside zone 3.
All right, so no question he's going to improve on the 0. Now his one and only score that he'll receive on this second run is going to have to be the one that gets him into the top 32. Low 70s right now is our cutoff. But as Ryan said, that is going to disappear as these drivers with incompletes come up to their run and drop some scores like that one, a 75.
As you can see, his angle score suffered quite a bit. I think a lot of it was outside zone 1 and then inside clip 1 as well.
All right, so as we move on, a driver that certainly has got to be psychologically pretty comfortable right now is car number 125 of Yoshichika Tamagawa. The JZA 80 Supra, that an 89 that held through a big chunk of qualifying as our number 1 qualifier. He can really let it go now. Trying to back up that 89. Oh, big angle at that first outside zone, though it was mistimed a little bit. Tiny adjustment in the front wheels through that inside clip. And he's going to come up way short. Heard a little backfire from the vehicle. He shut it down right after the finish line. Let's take a look at this second run here from the car number 125 of Yoshichika Tamagawa.
So fairly early initiation. Car's looking good as he's inside there. I think he's a little bit late on outside zone 1, but does get wide in the area that he does fill. So did a good job there. A little bit right on the white line there for outside zone number 2. Pretty decent on inside clip 1. And not very wide on 3, unfortunately, and looked like he had lower angle through the finish line as well. Maybe, like you said, there was a backfire there. I don't know if there was. It just looked like the car wasn't acting right through the last portion of the track, but hopefully there's nothing wrong with it.
All right, so waiting on that score as some of the fans here in attendance looking on at some of these amazing vehicles that we see in FD Japan. Final score is inputted, and the 89 of Tamagawa is going to be slotted up against an 87. So 2 respectable scores for him. Not able to break into the 90s and get into that top 3, but he's had a good day. And he can go rest and get ready for tomorrow. He had 2 runs in dry conditions, which is what everybody wants out here. Rain still a threat, but so far so good. Another driver, number 10, Hokuto Matsuyama in the JZX 100, has an 86 on his first run. So comfortable in that vehicle. Uh-oh, little problem there. He does have a good line into the first outside zone, shallow a bit on the second. Big angle through that inside clip. And a good execution on that final outside zone, but it got hairy there at the beginning. It looks like he tried to initiate and get the car to angle a number of times before the last standing cone. Let's take a look.
Yeah, it got a little scary for him, I think. Just before the one cone, it looked like he was trying to get it to angle and finally did just before that one cone. Did a good job of outside zone 1. Outside zone 2, looked like he got not quite wide there, and he did, like you say, put on a lot of angle at inside clip 1, but he was still able to get to outside zone 3 and finish, although the angle was slightly lower than maybe the angle judge would have liked to see through that area.
All right, so the smoke filling the auditorium here at Fuji Speedway as the lights now coming on. We'll start to see the initial stages of the conditions that we will see tomorrow for the top 16. Top 16 will kick off at 6 p.m. local time. It's 6:30 right now as we see an 81 drop from Hokuto Matsuyama. He will not back up his 86, but it'll still be a respectable score. So as we said, the top 32 is going to kick off at 2 o'clock. We've got our halftime and other events going on. Then we come back out on track in, if these conditions hold, basically the same conditions you're seeing right now. Ikyo Saito, our next driver up, he's got a 75. And he is ready to go. Early initiation, wide line moving to the mid. Right there, threading the needle on that first outside zone, like the transition fluid. Notice the wheels not locking up, keeping the momentum moving forward. A little bit wide on that first inside clip, but nicely done on that second. I think this will be an improvement on that first run, just at first pass. Looked much more settled here. The JZX got that early initiation, Ryan, and it looks like he's feeling a bit more confident here on his second run.
Yeah, I think he did a better job in a couple of key areas on the track. You can see a couple of bobbles on angle there, a couple of adjustments, but line-wise, I think he did pretty well. A little bit off on outside zone 2, a little bit off on inside clip number 1, and then outside zone number 3, pretty wide on the rumble strip all the way through there. So looks like he cleaned it up and should get a pretty decent score here.
So scores quickly coming in, and it is a 7-point increase for him to an 82. So not only will he have 2 good scores, the 82 should keep him well into the bracket, a favorable part of the bracket. But for the next driver up, the mastermind behind Team Kazama in the S15, Toshiharu Kazama. He's got an incomplete. The pressure is on. Let's see what he can do here on his second run. He's going to early initiate. On throttle with a big smoke line. Much better this time around. Smoother, though he goes a bit wide on that second outside zone and the first inside clip. This will be a scored run. Will it be enough to get him into top 32? And appreciative are the 3 other Japanese commentators, Manabu Arito, Yoichi Imamura, and Tom Saiba. Let's take a look at this second run. He's able to overcome the incomplete. But where's the score going to go?
Yeah, nice early initiation from him as he comes around to outside zone 1, just outside that white line, so fairly decent line there. And he went a little bit late on outside zone number 2, which caused him to miss inside clip number 1, but great job on outside zone number 3. So overall, a pretty good run and clearly better than 0 from his previous run.
So just 1 cone and a course marker hit on that second outside zone, so we'll repair that. But you can quickly see the sunlight diminishing here, setting behind the clouds. It's going to be an 81, and that should be enough to get him into the top 32.
And Ryan, I think the cutoff's up somewhere in the mid-70s now, so I haven't been keeping track as well as I was earlier, but it should be somewhere around 76 perhaps at this point, 75. So any of the drivers with scores below that right now are in trouble. They need to put up a higher score in their second run for sure. And we do have a few zeros from the first runs coming up here. So Sobagiri, of course Oshiro's not here, but Hubert Lee as well. So these are guys with zeros that absolutely need to get a score higher than about 75 or 76 points to secure them a spot in top 32 tomorrow.
And for those guys, it's going to be absolutely critical that it does go much higher than 75, because the tiebreakers are going to be key here. We're going to see a few scores in and around that range that we're going to have to defer to a tiebreaker, so that second run is going to be critical. Now the beautiful R31 Skyline here did have an incomplete, so this is our next driver, Kudai Sobagiri, R31. He looked aggressive, but he made a big mistake on outside zone 1. This time he's going to be less aggressive, short on both 1 and 2, tight on inside clip 1, and good on outside zone 3. So sacrificing a lot of line points there, Ryan. Very, very off of outside zone 1 and pretty visibly significant on outside zone 2. So let's take a look at this run one more time.
So you can see he's running kind of a mid, then to inside, then trying to get out wide, but really not achieving that at all. A couple of feet off of outside zone number 2, fairly tight on inside clip 1, and then really nice on outside zone 3 there, right on the rumble strip. So like you said, did leave some points on the table there. Could have definitely been wider, filled the zones better, and we'll see what kind of score he gets out of this.
Fan favorite, beautiful looking car, a lot of compliments. Very, very rare. We have not really seen that in the series in recent history. But now the pressure is on. We want to see him into the top 32. At this point in competition, he needs at least a 75. As we see the lights around the course starting to come on. And look at that, it's a 78. So a quick deep breath there from Kudai Sobagiri in the R31 Skyline. He is safe for the current moment. One driver that's not is this driver right here. We've seen him many times before, Hubert Lee in the 86. He's got an incomplete. Pressure is on, here we go. And a little bit of hesitation. There's some understeering there. And it is over before we even get to outside zone 1. Hubert Lee bowing out of competition, Ryan, and you could start to see that kind of happening when he wasn't fully committed to the initiation, but the understeer to outside zone 1 pretty much solidified it.
Yes, when you're running with these really high grip tires with a high-powered car like this, the way they're set up, you really can't expect to get the rear end to break loose. It looked like just by trying to throttle there, it didn't look like he gave it any kind of real coaxing into initiation, I guess. And it's not something that's going to get you much success, unfortunately.
Got to get that clutch kick, baby.
Well, a little bit of weight transfer or something to upset the car a little bit. These tires are extremely grippy, and especially if you're just on throttle with the weight rearward already, you're not really going to be able to get the rear end to step out. You're just going to be pushing with the front end, which is essentially what he did in that situation.
So unfortunately for Hubert Lee, he's going to be bowing out of competition. Our next driver up, number 3, 93, Manki Ito in the JZX 100. He's got an incomplete as well. Looking for a 75 or higher. Gets that early initiation. He's on throttle, pushing out right to the white line. Smooth transition, maybe a little bit shallow, but this is looking good as he comes up a foot short on that first inside clip. Right at the line on that final outside zone. So yet another driver that was able to get through the pressure-filled situation of sitting on an incomplete and needing a score in run number 2. Let's take a look at this one more time, Ryan, and go through his second run.
Yeah, great job on outside zone 1, right on that white line. Might have not filled it entirely, but was definitely out there where he needed to be. And then a little bit off of inside clip number 1 there, but great job on the finish through outside zone number 3.
So car number 93 in that JZX 100 Chaser is able to come through with a scored run. Looking for a 75 or higher to stay alive here. As we saw 57 drivers come into competition today, 32 leaving for tomorrow. And some strong runs, a few drivers going into the 90s. Our current leader right now with the 92, tied with the 92, is Koichi Yamashita and Wataru Masuyama, 85. Nicely done. That will do the trick, and that should hold. And we're moving right along. A third of the way through so far of these 57 drivers registered for this event here at Fuji Speedway. Number 22, Atsushi Wachi. He has a 77, so he is good so far, but looking to build on that 77. Early initiation, low line, working his way out, makes an adjustment in the angle, gets out to that white line. Bit deep, oh no, big angle here. He's pushing to go off course. He's gonna be super wide. He's gonna have to make an adjustment there. So massive missing of that inside clip, angling up, losing some momentum. I don't think it's going to go into the realm of unchaseable lead per se, but definitely a big mistake here for Atsushi Wachi.
Yeah, it was definitely sloppy, Ryan. He could have cleaned that up a lot. So let's look at outside zone 1. First of all, he's got angle corrections coming to outside zone 1, which he was pretty much at the end of that zone as he got wide, very much at the end of outside zone number 2. Missed inside clip 1 by pretty much the width of the track, so there's going to be some pretty big deductions online for him.
All right, so luckily for him, he's got a 77, but it is not the strongest score. Now that we've seen some of these incompletes drop and we've seen some mid-80s come in, it's going to keep moving that marker up. We have 8 incompletes left to go out of the field so far. And the 59 in his second run is going to be inconsequential. So a big mistake there, line and angle as well as style, dinging him nearly half of the available points for those categories. Yumura Shinichi, also in the JCX 100, 75 on run number 1. So he's at the threshold. I would say this is just as pressure-filled as an incomplete, knowing he needs to get above a 75 to feel safe, and preferably into the 80s. Here we go, run number 2. Tries to snap it, get that drift early before that third standing cone. Nice, beautifully done on that first outside zone. Big angle there. Pulls the e-brake, makes an adjustment in the wheel, but he stays tight on that inside clip. Now moving out wide. Massive angle through that section of the course. And with the exception of the adjustment from outside zone 2 into inside clip 1, seems like he may have bettered that 75.
Yeah, I think he did, Ryan. Looking at his initiation, you can see he's on that tight line that sends him out nice and wide to outside zone number 1. Good job there. Great job on outside zone number 2 as well. Coming into the tie clip 1 is where he had some angle adjustments, but his line stayed true, and then he went nice and wide on outside zone 3. So really great line throughout the course, just needs to work on keeping the angle through the car and being a little bit more committed throughout that course.
So seems as if that was better, at least at first pass, to his first run of a 75. How much though? Scores coming in now as we wait and anticipate his score will be higher, and it is by 5 points. So another driver that has made the necessary adjustments from run 1 to run number 2. And as we start to enter the nighttime conditions, it is quickly getting dark here. Lights are on, no rain.
You shut your mouth, Ryan.
I'm knocking on plastic. I'll knock on paper.
Dead wood.
Dead wood. Tomoyuki Kitashiba, 71. So he needs a big score here. Sweeping through that right-hander. Gets that initiation at that third standing cone. Push, 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 push. Comes up short and also gets into it late. Better on that second outside zone. Really slowing should be keeping momentum there through that first inside clip. He gets back on throttle, pushes out wide to that final outside zone. I do think, at least at first look, that will better the 71, but still, Ryan, a couple mistakes there that he'll want to pay close attention to if he gets himself into the top 32.
Yes, I think so. Did a better job on outside zone 1. He didn't quite fill it as early as he could have or as wide, so definitely left some points there. Pretty good on outside zone 2, though. And then coming through inside clip, could have more angle going through the finish. It just looked like a little bit less angle than we'd like to see through that area.
All right, so as we said, a 71. All three judges have submitted their scores. It's now going into the computer system. We should see it rendered here on the graphics shortly. And he's going to want to get rid of that 71. It's not going to be a good tiebreaker score on his first run.
He definitely has more points on line, but I don't know if it's going to add up with the other little mistakes that he made.
So line and angle judge here independently. Both give 24s, a 32 for style. That makes 80. And that is a good performance from him. He's got a 71 on run number 1 and 80 on run number 2. The next driver has a 71 on run number 1, and we're about to find out what he has on run number 2. Sorry. Saori Iwasaki in that S13. One of 2 females in competition. Kind of slow rolling the initiation. Needs to get it going here. He's going to come up short on that first outside zone. Same with the second and pushing wide here. I don't think this is going to do it. She looked a bit more controlled in that first run. So Saori Iwasaki, pressure is on here to make it into the top 32. Ryan, what is your take on the second run?
I think that her outside zone 1, her line was pretty good on the first run, but this one she's not as wide there on outside zone 1, definitely leaving some points there. Same thing with outside zone 2, and then she has an area where the angle reduces at inside clip number 1. Her line isn't great, and she leaves outside zone 3 very early. So her fairly good score on run 1 is being hurt by her second run here. She, could have, but like we said earlier, the track conditions are changing pretty. I think there's a pretty big change. I can't say for sure. I'm not down on the track, but now that the sun's down, it's cooling off. There's a bit of a breeze, so I think that's a pretty significant change down the track surface.
And it's got to be nerve-wracking, to say the least, for drivers that are below the current points threshold to make it into the top 32 with this added pressure of changing track conditions, not only the light, but also the temperature. And certainly if it's a low-powered vehicle, makes the job even harder. So scores coming in now. She had a 71 on run number 1. And unfortunately, it is going to go much further south of that, a 54. So a disappointing second run for Saori Iwasaki. Car number 219 has got a pretty decent run on run number 1. Decent score on run number 1. The C33 Laurel of Hidehiko Tsujita is up next. Here we go. He's going to initiate early. Smoke line developing and just short of that first outside zone. Moves the butt into the second outside zone a bit late. You hear the car breaking up there right past that first inside clip. But not too shabby of a job. Couple little mistakes there that can be improved on. But the main task at hand here is making it into the top 32. And with that 81, the second score is looking to be the best possible tiebreaker. Ryan, what do you see here on run number 2?
The car looked somewhat slow like initially, but it looks like he's getting through the course pretty well. Bit of a handbrake pull there to get himself situated for outside zone 2. Did an okay job on inside clip number 1 and nice and wide on outside zone 3. It just looks like the car is not quite at the pace of the other cars around the course, but of course we don't judge speed. It's just a visual thing for me looking from the outside.
All right, so anecdotally, the car looked a little bit slower there, and though it wasn't impactful on the run, the criteria certainly fell off a little bit. He drops 3 points down from an 81 to a 78, so he will not have a backup score that is higher than his first. Here's our next incomplete. The Korean driver, 777, Cho Sun-gu in the RX-7. Had a tough time on initiation last time in getting the car to angle. Let's see if he can fix that. It would happen right about here. And it's going to be a no initiation at all. So Cho Sun-gu, honestly a bit out of the depths here. Not sure if the vehicle is having problems. I did see him make some passes in practice, but unfortunately 2 runs that end up in an incomplete.
The dark art of rotary tuning. It sounds like it's making some odd noises there. You can hear him revving it up. He's still trying to leave our view from here, so not driving very quickly. Definitely has a problem. So with something mechanically there, not really able to put the power down. So unfortunately for him, will be an incomplete. And 2 incompletes, which means no competition for him this weekend.
So another driver eliminated from the top 32. There it is, official. So tough day of competition for Cho Sun-gu. And now our next driver that is on the chopping block is a driver that we are used to seeing in the top 32. That is Daichi Mizutani in the S15. So pressure is on. He's got a score of 68 here. He's been given the green light. Let's see what he can do. Mizutani initiates kind of and pushes wide. Drops 2 tires there. Snaps it back around. And the run in front of us, oh, a little bit of adjustment in the front wheels there, but the biggest thing that I noticed was what seemed to be a very late initiation. Let's take a look at this.
Yeah, let's have a look where his initiation was. It did look late on initial, viewing of the live driving, but let's watch it here. 1, 2, yeah, he's way late. Way late on initiation. A couple of tires off at outside zone 1.
Drops a windshield wiper.
Yeah, yeah. And then here at the finish line, it looks like he drives straight. Not really.
Almost opposite drift.
Yeah.
So tough call for the judges here. I think we've seen runs like that be called an incomplete with the lateness of initiation. Had he not done that, the run would have had some deductions. It may not have improved his 68, but
yeah, unfortunately, Ryan, it's going to be an incomplete based on that very, very late initiation. It wasn't just beyond the one cone, it was well beyond the 1 cone. So unfortunately, can't really give a score for that one.
All right, so trying to maintain some consistency in where the judges are drawing the line, and unfortunately that was past the threshold there for the initiation. So Mizutani is going to have an incomplete. He's got a 68. That means yet another driver eliminated from the top 32. Car number 938, Yusuke Kusaba in the 86. Sitting pretty right now, to be honest, in 85 on run number 1.
Nice early initiation.
Yeah, gets on it. Nice and early, pushing out. A little bit of adjustment there. He stays in it a bit too long. He's going to come up short on that second outside zone, but driving with a lot of throttle and intention through that inside clip. Big angle there to finish up the run. And you can see the confidence level at this course seems there. Just needs to clean up the timing a little bit on entering outside zone 1. But Ryan, let's take a look here. Seems like he is feeling this course a little bit.
Yeah, he looked like he was in a hurry through this one. He's driving very, very fast. You can see great transition there, but not filling the zones. Look how quick he goes through inside clip 1. Right here, he goes to big angle by the finish line and manages to stay at angle just beyond it, but came pretty close to straightening up before the finish line.
Well, thanks for joining us wherever you are. We are almost halfway through the second run of the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship. This is a first for us. It's nighttime drifting at Fuji Speedway. 60 drivers to 57, boiled down to 32. And it's an 82 for Yusuke Kusaba. Consistent driving from him, 85 on run number 1. Lower with an 82 on the second run, but nonetheless a good potential tie-breaking score for him. Our next driver that's on the line is actually looking pretty. Masayao Minowa, the second female in competition. She's got an 83 on run number 1. So right now, as it currently stands, she is in top 32 and just looking to back up that 83. Gets that initiation early at that third standing cone. Keeps the angle pouring on. Nicely executed there. A little bit of a hiccup and a big angle transition. Can't hang on to it. Incomplete on run number 2, but the 83, while it is near the cutoff point, category 75-78, potentially where it may end, looks like she's going to be in the top 32, so congratulations to her so far. Let's take a look at where this incomplete took place.
So we were talking earlier about not really being able to see outside zone 1 when you initiate because of the design of the track. Now add to that, it's starting to get dark. We've got lights out on the track, but visibility is definitely going to be a little more challenging now, and that could be what hurt Masayo Minowa here as she got to outside zone 1 really, really well. The car looked great. She had it right on the line, right on the rumble strip actually, and it looked fantastic. And it just looks like she wasn't committed enough to get the car out to outside zone 2, and it could be a visibility thing or just could be a confidence thing, or maybe she wasn't carrying the right momentum to get through there. So she ended up with an opposite drift, and unfortunately an incomplete 0 for that run.
Yasuo, our next driver up, Takano, 63. The green on green federal driver.
Needs to better that 63 right now.
He's got to get a 73, 74, 75 or better. And it looks like it's most likely going to be a 75. Almost a big understeer there. Misses the first inside clip. Oh no. Oh no. While he maintains some degree of angle, I think it could be classified as an unchaseable lead, but let's go to Ryan here for the replay.
Yeah, looked at the other judges, and they both gave me the 0 sign. Unfortunately, he's going to get an incomplete on this run just because of that lack of angle over the finish line. You could see as he drove away from us, he was completely straight. So unfortunately for him, you know, he had a couple of errors there, even had a straightening there at inside clip 1, but definitely at the finish line here, he's just driving straight as he leaves outside zone number 3.
All right, so we're seeing drivers falling out of competition here, either by not able to better their first run and get above a 75, or unable to get higher than a 75 on their second run. This next driver is another driver with an incomplete. Masakazu Hashi, S15, car 84. He's definitely got very grippy tires in the Velinos, but he's got that incomplete. Early initiation, inside line, adjustment to the front wheels. He's got to hang on to it here. Oh no, way off that first outside zone. Better on outside zone 2, but a little twitchy there. All right, he looks a little bit more settled now. Angles up towards the end of that outside zone, but the first part of the course, arguably one of the hardest besides hitting that inside clip. He struggles with a little bit here. Ryan, let's take a look at this second run.
Yeah, it looked like he tried to get to angle and then had to straighten up and then get it back to angle before inside clip 1, or sorry, first, the initiation point there, the 1 cone. Could have been better on outside zone 2. Better by inside clip 1, not too bad there. Not running with a lot of angle and then adjusting it to add more angle at the end of outside zone 3. So not the smoothest run, some hiccups throughout, and better than an incomplete that he had on his previous run though. So this will definitely be an improvement for him.
The moment of truth here for car number 84, Masakazu Hashi, needs a 75 or higher. Individual judges' scores starting to come in now. And the final result for him, wow, look at that, a 76. So in by the skin of his teeth. And it's possible that that may not hold, but for the time being, he's done enough. Shinichiro Saito, the Car Guy Racing 180SX, is in a good position here. He's got an 88. He's got something hanging down from the front of his vehicle. But he is just looking to back this up. This is about positioning for him. And even with the changing track conditions, he's able to get out to that first outside zone, though it was a little bit late. But this second half of the course looks like a throwaway. Middle line to the outside zone 2. And not well executed on that inside clip. It may be an inconsequential run for him or a tiebreaker run at best, but nowhere near the 88 in run number 1.
Outside zone 1, very, very late actually in that one, and then into outside zone 2, very much on the inside, not really getting that filled the way he should. So not ideal in terms of car placement, and it's definitely going to be a deduction from his first run in terms of the line score.
All right, so he is still well positioned in the top 32 with that 88 in run number 1. Run number 2 starting to drop here. We know it's not going to be an 88, so it's going to be a tiebreaker score. And the second score comes in at a 72, so it's even going to be below the threshold. He's very fortunate that he got that 88 in the first run, secured his position into the top 32. But the only crown in competition up next is that of Tetsuya Iha, and he's got his work cut out for him. It's a 73. All right, he's off and running.
Burnt taillight.
Waiting for that initiation. There we go. Little bit of hesitation there. Uh-oh. Gets into that zone late. And that one too. Uh-oh. Something flies up off the vehicle. But he makes some mistakes there. You can really see the drone flying around now with that blue light chasing the driver. Let's take a look at this run again, Ryan, as he's got a 73 in run number 1.
I just want to take a look at the post-initiation there where his, so he got the angle there, right there. It was just an area, I guess a bobble. Missed outside zone 1 completely, missed outside zone 2. A little bit wide on inside clip 1, and a little bit better on outside zone 3 near that rumble strip. But definitely left a lot of points that he did not capture, unfortunately. Didn't place himself quite right there through a couple of those areas on the track.
7:06 p.m. local time here at Fuji Speedway. We're now one driver away from the halfway point of the second run of qualifying. 292s made the day so far with Koichi Yamashita and Wataru Masuyama. And we will see those second runs come here shortly. I think we should be done by about 8 o'clock. It's a 68 on run number 2, so it's going to fall below the line. And the 73 is as well. So that is a tough break for Tetsuya Iha. He is going to be out of competition. Car number 13, Yasuhiro Takaki, also below the threshold. He's got a 0. So no tiebreaker for him. He's going to need probably a 76 or higher Gets a little bit of a sloped initiation there that does not pay off for him. The car does not get out to outside zone 1. He does fill outside zone 2, but he sacrifices a lot of the criteria. He pulls off outside zone 3 very early and looks like he pulls out of the drift right near the finish line. Ryan, car number 13, struggling here, did not really have the right timing into that first outside zone.
Yeah, he had a failure to initiate on his first run, and it looks like he's still having trouble with the car. He did get it to angle, though, but not really able to fill the zones even remotely close, especially that first one. He didn't do bad on the second one there, but really not looking like the car is 100%. He's got
that was before
he
the
had to
finish line.
fight the car at the very end there to try to keep it at angle through the finish line.
Yep, and you could clearly see the yellow finish line marker on the right-hand side where there was an opposite drift, and I believe that the judges are in agreement there that that is going to serve as a second incomplete for him. So unfortunately, another driver has been knocked out of competition. And there it is, the official score coming through, an incomplete for Yasuhiro Takaki. Unfortunately, out of competition for tomorrow. All right, moving right along. Our next driver should be car number 38, Tadahiro Fukada, the Dunlop driver with that JZX 100 Mark II. 77 for him, so right there. Still a lot of pressure here. It is now pretty insanely dark, just a few remnant lights. It looks brighter on the TV screen for you guys at home, but it's quite dark here. And here he comes into camera position. Nice job on that first outside zone. Lights flashing right straight towards us. I gotta say, this is a nice run from him.
Wow.
Definitely looked much better than the 77, and for what it's worth, he did not seem phased by the decrease in lighting conditions whatsoever.
I think Fukada is going to be asking for night events from now on because he stepped up his game here. I'm trying to find mistakes on the line side of things. Look at that, right on the rumble strip, filled the zone, transitions to outside zone 2. Might have been slightly late in it, but for the most part, filled it. Great on inside clip number 1, and then great on outside zone 3. I don't really know what there is to say bad about the line on that one. It's pretty solid, and good for him for cleaning it up. He had a 77, and I think he's going to get a pretty big increase here on the second run.
So one of the few drivers in these conditions that has so far seemingly done better on his second run than on his first by at least at first look, at first glance, a sizable margin. So 77, and look at that. It is a massive jump up for him, a 13-point increase, and I think well-deserved there, Ryan, a 90 for Tadahiro Fukada.
Yeah, great job by him. He's got to keep that up tomorrow in competition, as clearly a 90 is going to get him into the show tomorrow, and it should have him pretty well positioned going into the top 32 battles.
Car number 448, Yoshiya Isaki, 77. Relative good position. But let's do a Fukada here, bud. Second run for him. Gets on the gas right at the second standing cone. Nicely done there. Again, another fluid run, a little bit deep into that second outside zone. And if he's able to pull that off, oh, he just gets into the zone a bit late. But he looked much more settled than the 77. And with just a couple little mistakes there, some of these drivers are actually doing the counterintuitive thing and looking better on their second run in much more dramatic conditions here.
Yeah, it's very impressive to see. Look at him, really wide out to outside zone 1, transitions into outside zone 2, goes a little bit long on it, very close on inside clip 1, and just goes into outside zone 3 late, kind of near the finish line actually, so a couple of points deducted there for him. But overall, a great run, especially like you said, in the new dark conditions that we have here at Fuji Speedway.
So that right there, that shot is probably, as we get an 84 for Yoshiya Isaki. 84, and a great job by him. But that shot right there is probably 4 shades darker than it actually appears to the human, or excuse me, 4 shades lighter than it appears to the human eye. It is quite dark out here, and what we see is definitely different than what you guys are seeing on screen. So we are paying close attention to the monitors that we have available to us up here. But once again, we find ourselves in a position with the driver that is under immense pressure. He's got an incomplete. His name is Koji Kitagawa, and this is our 3rd of 4 rotary RX-7s.
FDs. There's also an
FDs.
FC. Yeah.
That's right.
So it's 5 total. Wow, it's dark.
And looks like he's getting that stepped initiation. He does get it to angle. Uh-oh. Low angle there. Oh no, it's over now. You could see that starting to build up, and it looked like he had a save into outside zone 1, even though it was very regressed angle. But unfortunately, the transition put him in a position where he could not push forward with that angle, and he's going to get an incomplete. So there it is. You see that incomplete transpiring about midway through the course, right near outside zone 2 in the middle of the track. He will be out of competition. It's 2 back-to-back incompletes. And unless I think we may be bypassing this halfway through the competition second run commercial. So I think that means we're going to keep pushing through.
Not getting any lighter out here, Ryan.
Yep, I think that's what's going on here. And Tomoki Tanaka is our next driver up. 70 on run number 1.
Definitely needs to improve that.
The chaser, early initiation. Aggressive driving up to outside zone 1. All right, we can work with this. Oh no, but an early transition, middle of the course, leaves the outside zone 2 completely unaddressed, and then drops off at the last second there on that outside zone. Remember, those yellow cones actually do designate the finish line, so drivers need to be drifting through there. Let's take a look at this run again. Ryan, walk us through what happened here.
Yeah, I think he did a good job on outside zone 1. It looked pretty clean, but just transitioned too early and put himself in the middle of the track. And that might be coming from a confidence thing on the course itself, you know, visibility-wise, or maybe it's a different level of grip on the track from when he ran last, because it was still quite light when he was out here last time for his, you know, first qualifying run.
So just to restate, he had a 70 on run number 1. He would need a 75 or higher on this second run to make it into the top 32. And wow, he does it with the 76 just by the smallest of margins. He looks like he'll be into the top 32.
I don't know anymore. I've stopped keeping track, but quite a while ago, 76 was right on the cusp. So he may or may not be in there, but it may have raised up to about a 77 now for the entry. So if we start doing some math on this, it might take a while, but we'll have to see what happens.
And we still have 5 incompletes to go.
Right.
Daisuke Hara has 15, 72. Let's just call it a 77. That's what we need. Oh no, bit of understeer there. Pulls the front end, looked like it wanted to wash out. He's trying to save it. He's a bit wide on that first inside clip. He's gonna pull off that last outside zone. Not too bad. But coming up the hill into that first outside zone, the front end looked like it wanted to wash out, and with the 72, he cannot afford any major mistakes.
So he gets the car to angle fairly early, definitely earlier than the 3 cone. You can see him coming around to outside zone 1, and right there's a pretty big bobble. He does get to outside zone 1, late on outside zone 2, off of that inside clip, but finishes pretty strong.
All right, so the smoke cloud lingering here from Daisuke Hara as the fingernail biting nervousness, anxiety of these drivers has got to be pretty high at this point, especially if you're right at that threshold. He's already logged a 72, which is not going to cut through into the top 32. And it all comes down to this right here on whether or not he makes it in. And he does not. He mirrors the score from run number 1, and we've got another driver out of competition. Yuji Saito, S15 Sylvia, if you can see with the lights glaring right into the camera. He's got a 68 on run number 1. Last name right on the car. Clutch kick initiation into the first outside zone. Okay, let's do it. Oh, comes up way shallow on the line. He's going to pull angle out of the car. He's going to drive straight. He's going to incomplete. And what looked to be a promising start to the run, Ryan, turns out to be a nothing burger on run number 2.
Yeah, he did a pretty good job on outside zone 1. I thought he was doing all right as he got the car to angle. He got right out to that line. You can see he's right on the edge of the rumble strip. Then when he transitioned, he did not make it out to outside zone 2. Really tight, wide on inside clip number 1, and then just stops drifting at that point in time. So incompletes and gets himself a 0 there for that.
And there it is, official coming through. We've got just about 21 more drivers left to go out of the 57 that we started with. Our 2 drivers with a 92 are tied for first place, that being Koichi Yamashita and Wataru Masuyama. All right, so we're waiting to get to the next car. The bugs are flying. He's got an 88, so he is in good position here. Takatoshi Ima Maeda. No one has practiced in these conditions yesterday. Practice was today. Practice was in dry, hot conditions. This is the first pass he's made in these conditions, and that quick snap rotation, the transition to outside zone 2, really whipped and loaded up, causes an incomplete for Ima Maeda. It'll be to no avail though, however, as he does have an 88 and is well into the top 32. Ima Maeda logging that incomplete, as we said, and we will move on to our next driver. He's right there, Ryan. It's one of the twin AE85s, the Trueno Tomonori Tasaka. 3 vehicles in this lineup along with the 86. And here we go. Midline. Snaps it early. You can see, had a big adjustment there before initiation. Still struggling to piece this run together. And he pulls off that outside zone a bit late. It's a 76, so he's right at the threshold. He had an instance before he fully committed to the line where he had a bobble and the front end, not really an opposite drift, but let's take a look at this, Ryan. Right there.
Right there. Yeah, it's not ideal. will admit. We're just talking to the other judges here. 1 second.
We've seen drivers that initiate very early before the third standing cone make adjustments with the front wheels, but the judges have given some allotments for that since they just need them to be at angle at the latest point of initiation and holding that angle consistently. However, in this case, it was past that last standing cone where we saw that adjustment being made, Brian, and let's hear what you have to say with the other judges.
Is that a night vision camera? Yeah, we're going to incomplete that because of that reinitiation that he had to do after initiation.
I was just mentioning that you guys have been giving a little bit of courtesy headroom to drivers prior to the last standing cone in terms of when they're setting up their initiation. We sometimes see somebody initiate, pull a little angle out, put a little angle back in. But once they get to that last standing cone, as long as they're at a consistent angle, you guys have been generally okay with that.
Right.
After that last standing cone, though, is more or less a no-no there in terms of it being at least a deduction, but potentially an incomplete.
That's right, Ryan. We try to give them because some of them are initiating so early, and it isn't a straight line initiation here. You are initiating going around that corner. Some of them get it to angle, pull a little bit out, and then as long as they're at angle by that last standing cone, then we will count it as clean initiation.
All right, so Tomonori Tasaka will have to hope that 76 holds. I'm not sure that it will. Another driver right at that line, but a little bit higher than that, is Tomohiro Murayama. In the S14, he's got a 79. Very aggressive approach here, flying through the course at nighttime, but does not get out to that first outside zone. Also a bit shallow and late on the second outside zone. Wide on inside clip 1. Much better, but still coming off early of that third and final outside zone. So these nighttime conditions, because of the uniqueness of this event with 86 Fest happening on Sunday, first time these drivers are really witnessing these conditions, Ryan, you have to imagine that for some it is quite nerve-wracking. Others have done okay, but for many I have to imagine it's tough.
The thing is, with a lot of the other tracks we drive at, Ebisu, Suzuka Twin, even Okayama, you can go drive there no problem throughout the year. You know, there may be a track day, a drift day where you can go, or you can rent the track. Fuji Speedway is very expensive, it's very exclusive, and I don't believe they do drifting on this portion of the track ever when we're not here. So it's very difficult to come and practice here other than when we are actually here.
And it's a 75, so the 79 will have to be his highest scoring run of the two. Tomohiro Murayama, the Dunlop driver in the S14, done for the day, 75 and 79 respectively. All right, the FD3S RX-7, Yoshitaka Ogane, 81. Good position here. Can he better it? Rolling into it, breaking it loose. Smooth line, but pulling angle out, not getting out to that outside zone. That's going to be an unchaseable lead, and it comes to a stop. It's an incomplete. You can see the challenge, even for some of the more experienced veteran drivers, driving under these conditions. Very hard here, and Ryan, I think you hit it right on the head. This is not a track that they can drift every day, let alone even once a year. It's only at these specialty events like what we do, where we see drivers coming out and able to practice on this course. So it is no weak challenge nonetheless.
Yes, and the being dark right now doesn't help things. You can see the amount of light that those lights are throwing down, actually, and it does help from this vantage point. But you can see that there are a couple of dark spots there as well, so it's definitely challenging for the drivers to know exactly where to place their cars confidently, and it's going to make it a big challenge as we keep going through practice here, or qualifying, sorry, as like you said, they haven't practiced in these conditions. Not only is it dark, but probably gripped up quite a bit as well.
All right, car number 888, incomplete on run number 1. Kenji Yamada snaps it, gets it, doesn't get it, incompletes it. Yeah, I Kind of jumped the gun there, but just knowing how you guys call these, that seemed like that was going to be more clearly an incomplete than not.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right, Ryan. Yeah, he had a couple of issues there trying to initiate too, but then he completely straightens up, and unfortunately that's going to be an incomplete from him. So that means that 2 incompletes. He will not make it into competition tomorrow.
All right, so we're starting to get into the meat of the top-ranked drivers here, but unfortunately, Kenji Yamada, 2 back-to-back incompletes. He will sit out competition tomorrow, and we will move on to the next driver who's already at the start line there. You can see the undercarriage flashing, and that is Shoya Saito in the S15 Sylvia. Looks like we do have one little course marker that needs to be replaced, and it was, and now the vehicle's moving off course. But yet again, we've got another driver right at the threshold here. A 76 is our cutoff. And looking at the remaining drivers, Ryan, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incomplete. So we're going to see more drivers knocked out of competition, whether those drivers with incompletes get scores higher than a 76, 77, or whether they do not and they have to bail. So here we go. Interesting under the night conditions, seeing the lights flashing. And here comes the seizure right at you. Out to that outside zone. Actually doing okay there. Little bit of angle pulled out after the second outside zone. Hits that inside clip deep into that outside zone number 3. And really it was those noticeable mistakes early on, not getting into that first outside zone and the angle adjustment leaving outside zone 2. But nonetheless, Shoya Saito looks like he's going to get a scored run here.
His car looks like those pair of shoes that kids wear that light up in the soles. Did a pretty good job in outside zone 1. He did have this big angle correction here at outside zone 2, although his line was pretty solid. And going to inside clip 1, he did get pretty close there, and his angle was maintained pretty well through outside zone 3, where his line was pretty solid all the way through to the finish. So overall, not a bad run. I don't know if it'll better his 76, but we will soon find out.
So Shoya Saito right at the cutoff and makes a big statement with the classic neon appearance that we're so used to in old school drifting. And he is trying to make it in, and look at that. A 2-point increase from the previous score, a 76 to a 78. So he is able to get it done from the looks of it. And now we will move on to the next 2 drivers, both with 85s, both sitting comfortably. The first one of which is Kazuhiro Kubo in the S13. Let's see how he deals with these conditions. He's on throttle early, breaks it loose early, gets out to outside zone 1, makes it look good. He's going to be way short on outside zone 2. Some adjustments in the front wheels as he passes through that first inside clip. Big throttle there, and takes one step onto the rumble strips, but outside of the mistake near outside zone 2, a run that looked like it had some pretty good confidence in it.
You're right, Ryan. He's looking way more confident than a couple of the last few drivers that we've seen go out there. Nice and wide to outside zone 1. He did miss outside zone 2 pretty significantly. Not too bad on inside clip 1, and right on that rumble strip for outside zone 3. So I think the commitment side is really strong, and he pushed pretty hard through a lot of the track.
All right, so he is well into competition. It's really about positioning for him, and also potential tiebreakers, as you can see on the right-hand side of your screen near the lights, the incredible amount of flying bugs that are now inhabiting our space up here as well. And look at that, it's going to be twin 85s for him, so great job. Shows that there was some headroom there for getting out to that second outside zone had he done that better, and that should give him some confidence as we continue to pace through this second run. Here we go, Knight Rider up. The Knight Rider S15, Jin Harino.
That's awesome. Reaching into my childhood
I can't
right
believe
now.
I even remember that. Michael
Knight.
Gin Harino, 85. Uh-oh, a little bit of an understeer there right at the last second. He's going off course. So Knight Rider hits the boost and goes off course there. But it will all be for none. He should be into the top 32. It's an incomplete on the second run. Let's take a look at what happens here, Ryan. And I think he had a little understeer that got him out of whack just right after the last standing cone, right there.
Right, yeah. Straightened up again, and then he was going on his line got modified there. He wasn't going on that round line anymore. He kind of straightened up and was pointing at the outside of the track on throttle, picking up speed, and just couldn't stick on the track anymore. So Kit couldn't help him in that situation.
Yeah, Kit.
Kit.
All right, so there we go. The official incomplete comes through for Gin Harino, but 85 for him. Now, one of the most recognizable top drivers in the FD Japan Championship for at least the past 3 years has been this driver right here, Yuichi Amagai. In the S15, has an incomplete. One of 3 drivers remaining that has to perform on this run at least a 78 or better, or he's out of competition. And this is going to happen 1, 2, 3 more times as we make our way into the top 10. So here we go. Amagai gets it to angle at the third standing cone. Heads to that first outside zone, comes up a little bit short, but not too shabby. Same thing on outside zone 2. Angle in the car is changing as he's making adjustments to the front wheels. He has to pull off the throttle, so you see the decrease in the smoke line so he doesn't go off course. And this one's going to be looked at very closely here. Ryan, the second run from Amagai was not an incomplete, but was it enough to make it into the top 32?
That is going to be the big question. You know, we don't really know where the cutoff is right now, but looking at this run, he did have some angle modifications there. He did have some commitment issues as well from the style side of things, so there may be a couple of deductions here that could hurt him. Line-wise, he wasn't perfect either, so let's see how it all adds up.
So Robbie Nishida doing the style judge scores this round. Brian Eggert, the angle gives him a 21. It adds to a cumulative 75. So he is in the ambiguous area for sure. We know that the 75 is at least the cutoff, but just by the zeros that have been overcome by some of the drivers, we think that that number is going to go north, but we are doing pen and paper on the back of napkins right now, basically, with our chicken scratch. But we have still remaining, as I mentioned, 1, 2, 3 more drivers with incompletes. Not this driver here, Kanta Yanaguida in 89. Should be a walk in the park. This is just an opportunity to get used to these conditions. This will be the last time that they have these conditions at this track until tomorrow night. Extremely important to understand everything you can about the car, its reactions to these conditions, as well as how the driver sees through the lighting setup here, and most importantly, the smoke line that they're bound to be driving through as a chase driver. So Yanaguida in 89 in run number 1, still looking strong. The young driver performing well here.
Yeah, he could have been wider on outside zone 1, but he's definitely committed on throttle. Look at the angle he's throwing in at outside zone 2. Going to inside clip 1, hitting that clip, which is an automatic 2-point deduction, and then riding the left foot brake there a little bit as he goes through the finish line. Not the most precise run, but definitely committed and on throttle throughout the entire course.
So you see the lack of any wind right there at the 3, 2, 1 initiation cones. So some of the smoke still lingering here. It's an 86, so still a very strong score for him. An 89 will hold as his top score. That happened in run number 1.
But a pretty decent backup score if a tie needs to be broken, because I think there is somebody else with an 89, if I remember correctly.
Yes, and you have to wonder if some of his confidence is coming from the new 2JZ that he has in that vehicle, Ryan, and his confidence level certainly looks up there quite a bit.
Yeah, we know he's capable of placing his car properly, so it'll be interesting to see with more power what he's able to do in tandem.
Tatsuya Kume was very tentative on run number 1, and run number 2, looks like he's 3 off. He has an incomplete on run number 1, and it would be a shame to see him go out on a mistake at outside zone 1. But Ryan, I think that was very close to 3 tires off, and you guys have been calling that an incomplete consistently in this qualifying session.
Just want to watch it a second time to be certain, but from my first impression there, it was 3 tires off. So check that front left. Yeah, it's definitely in the grass. So that'll be an incomplete from him, unfortunately, 3 wheels off course.
It's also he also looked like he had a pretty late initiation there as well.
True, yep.
So unfortunately, another driver bites the dust. Tatsuya Kume, the Valino driver in the S14, one of 2 this weekend, back-to-back incompletes. So tough weekend for him, tough day for him. In very hot conditions, leading to overcast from practice to qualifying, now to nighttime. Next driver up, Manabu Fujinaka, had a couple issues with his line that kept him right around the threshold that we think we're at right now, which is a 76. He's going to be held at the start line for a second here. We do have an emergency vehicle out on the track replacing one of the course markers. And we are getting attacked by alien bug creatures up here. So I, as much as anybody else, wants to finish strong here and defeat these bugs.
$12 drivers to go, Ryan.
Final touches there for the track crew. And they are driving off course, so we should be getting the green light any second here for car number 808, Manabu Fujinaka, the good ride driver in our last FD3S RX-7. And it looks like he's going to get the green light. He does. All right, it's all on him now. Here we go. Come on, Fujinaka. Let's see it. Get yourself a 78 or higher. Give yourself some breathing room. Oh, no. Really low angle there. Oh, he shuts it down. Did not have the grip levels required on that second run. Could not anticipate how the car was going to feel in those conditions. And he's going to have to hold with that 76. So the Rotary's having a tough weekend here overall. And we have another 76 right at the line here. Kazuki Hayashi, the third teammate of the other 2 drivers of the Truenos 85s in the 86. All right, he's off. Here we go, early for him. Smoke line, thick, moving with momentum, and just comes up into that outside zone a little bit tight. Oh, much better on outside zone 2. Uh-oh, some movement in the front wheels. So a little bit lack of consistency there. Oh, big angle, he's gonna spin out. And he knew rules it. He knew rules it. But we don't always have a synchronous overlay of U.S. rules to Japan rules, so we'll have to consult with Ryan to see whether or not that was stated to the drivers in any drivers' meetings. Ryan, what's the call here?
Well, we don't have the super strict U.S. rules here for the spins as we do in the U.S., so we're just going to have to look at where the spin occurred. Was it before the finish line or beyond the finish line? So looking at it here, it looks like the spin was kind of happening over the finish line. So
and the rules that pertain to FD Japan are the old rules, which would be having control through the finish line?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm just going to go ahead and take a guess. I'm not going to tell you. Ryan's off mic right now, so he can't hear me, but I'm guessing they're going to go incomplete because I think he looked like he did not have control of the vehicle through the finish line. Let's take a look at it here once again as the judges conferring with each other. He starts off pretty good. This was a run that could have gone higher than a 76, but right here as he exits the final outside zone, it looks as if the inducement of that spin past the finish line happened as he was passing the finish line, which to me says that he was not maintaining control. And the official result is?
It is an incomplete, Ryan, unfortunately.
Yes. Not yes that he got it incomplete,
It's
but
terrible,
yes that
Ryan.
I guessed it.
How do you feel
Yes that I guessed it.
cheering that he got an incomplete? Ryan.
I think intuitively that makes sense and is pretty well consistent with what we've seen in the past, but it is a bummer because he has a 76.
Yeah.
He probably would have gone higher, I think, with what we've seen so far.
Yeah, that would have been a decent score, I think, from him. It's I don't think a 76 is going to get him in, unfortunately. I don't have the actual numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's probably the cutoff is high 70s now, 78, somewhere around there, 79.
We're into the top 10. This driver has an 80, excuse me, he's got a 0, he's got an incomplete, and he's got another one. I wanted to say a bad word there because I was hoping for this guy to do well. I love seeing the way he tandems. I love watching how quickly and how dynamic he drives that car, but this was not the day for him.
Yeah, he threw it in pretty aggressively and never lifted. You could see that he wasn't worried about where he was going there. He knows there's runoff space, so he just stayed on throttle, brought the car back onto the line that he was supposed to be on, and completed the course. But it will be an incomplete for him.
Well, if you're watching back in the States, it's way early in the morning now. It's 7:45 here local time, and we are into the top 10 drivers. Within the top 10, there are 2 incompletes remaining, one for Benjamin Chiam and one, surprisingly, for Katsuhiro Ueo. Now, both of these drivers are going to have tremendous pressure on them for all the reasons that Ryan and I have been saying since these conditions took place. It's dark. They have not had practice on in these conditions. This is a rarity. This is really a first time for the sport under the lights in Fuji. But here is Shang Nian. He's got an 86, so he's doing pretty good here. Even he misjudges that first outside zone and second outside zone. And look at, there's the number now shining up at nighttime. Car 54 will get a second run scored here, but I don't think it'll better the 86. He's okay in terms of where he's at right now. Let's take a look at this second run.
I think you're right, Ryan. Few too many mistakes were made on this run to get him higher than that original score. You can see angle being taken out of the car. He missed outside zone 1 a little bit late. Didn't go wide on outside zone number 2. And that number is really visible. But he did really a good job on the last outside zone there before the finish line.
So there you see some of our friendly flying friends in the background there. And definitely feeling the legs getting bit up pretty good here.
Yeah, I was happy I had shorts on earlier, but now I wish I had pants on.
Yes, agreed. All right, so Shang Nian will back up his 86 with the 74. So very lucky he got that in when he did, the 86. And so we are moving on into our next driver, number 8 in the current championship standings, the Audi A5 of Kazuya Iizuka. He's got an 84, so he's got a bit of breathing room, not a lot. And he is currently the only 84 in competition, so he's sitting alone right now and does have an opportunity to move north if he can get an 85 or higher. Nice. Little bit too long in the zone and shallow line-wise on the second outside zone. And just basically ignores that final outside zone, but it looked very promising from the onset. Let's take a look at it again. He just stayed in the first outside zone a bit long, but it's the best we've seen in these conditions so far.
You're right. Good car placement from him, especially on outside zone 1. Look at him, he's right on the rumble strip. Beautifully done, but like you said, stayed on it a little too long. Wasn't wide on outside zone 2. Came in close to inside clip 1, but with very low angle, and then didn't really go wide on outside zone number 3, but managed to keep it on the track, got a score, and we'll see how it pans out for him.
All right, so 84 was the first run. The mistakes are going to keep it under that number. And as we get the final score logging in, it's a 75. All right. Here's our next incomplete driver, Benjamin Chiam. It was over-aggressiveness that cost him a scored run in run number 1, and now massive pressure for him and for Katsuhiro Ueo, the 2 final drivers in the last few runs that do not have a score. So Chiam, his first run in these conditions, breaks it loose right at the 3rd standing cone. Heads out to the outside zone. You can see he's a bit tentative and shaky, but he's holding it together. He needs a 77, let's say, or higher. And yeah, buddy, that is got to feel good, because I think he did enough there. He had a moment of shakiness at that first outside zone, but he was able to still get much deeper than we've seen other competitors into outside zone 2 and 3, as well as the line on inside clip 1. So Ryan, walk us through here this run from Benjamin Chiam.
Yeah, good job on outside zone 1. A little bit late on it. Outside zone 2 did a really good job. He was almost all the way out to that white line. Hit the inside clip, so 2 points knocked off there, but that'll be all that was knocked off on that area, and he went wide on 3. So really pretty good job considering the conditions right now and the fact that he hasn't driven in these, you know, grippier conditions where the temperature has changed significantly from when he was probably on track last.
So that was a pressure cooker for him, no doubt about it. He comes through, but now we've got to make it official. I think he's going to need high 70s. Yes, he does it with an 83. That is going to give him the breathing room no matter what happens to the run with Katsuhiro Ueo. And he's much higher in the score line than drivers that just have 2 76s or higher. So he is in good position here, as is the next driver, currently tied for first place with a 92. This is Koichi Yamashita, the work-weld Arai Velino driver in the JZX 100 Mark II. I think for him, this is really just about trying to understand these conditions at this time. Playing it a little bit safe. You can't blame him here. They will not see practice in these conditions. This is the only chance they're going to have to measure the vehicle's performance and their understanding of the track in these conditions. And nonetheless, he still lays down a solid run. But what will happen here for this second run is it'll pose as the tiebreaker between him and Masuyama, assuming nobody else gets higher than a 92 at this point.
Yeah, his line score ended up being around the same as his first run, because he did pretty well through some key areas on the track. He got nice and close to inside clip 1, which is a 10-point area, and he did really well on outside zone. Well, really well. He did okay on outside zone 1. He had a few points knocked off throughout the course. He only ended up with a 27, so really pretty good considering I think the top score today has been a 29 for line. So 89 is a great backup score. So he has a 92 and an 89. It's going to be really hard to beat that, you know, in terms of if there is a tie for somebody with a 92. I don't know if that they'd have an 89 to back that up. There are 2 drivers with a 92 right now. Who's the other driver with a 92? Right?
Masuyama.
What's his other score?
He's not up. He hasn't been up yet.
Oh, right, because he's in the second last driver. So
yep.
He's the only one. If he got higher than an 89 on his second run, then he could potentially unseat Yamashita.
So we expected a bit of a higher score from Shinji Minowa in his first run. He played it very aggressively, however, made a couple mistakes. He still has an 84, so he's well into the top 32. Now it's just about getting that good backup score if he can. But it looks like the veteran drivers have been handling this pretty well. He goes into that outside zone a little bit late. He transitions middle of the course. So I think the 84 will be the higher of the 2 scores, leaving a lot of points on the table in both line and angle in the middle section of the course there. But let's take a look at this again and see what we can find out about what happened there on the transition.
Early initiation, gets on that inside line at around the 1 cone, gets himself out pretty wide to outside zone number 1. Outside zone 2 he missed entirely, had a bobble on angle there, and then was okay on inside clip 1 and really good on outside zone 3. So a couple of areas where he could have improved, but definitely lost some points in some key areas.
All right, so 84 on run number 1 for Shinji Minowa. His wife, Masayao, looks like she's going to be in competition. She's got that 83, so she's well above the cutoff. And as we lock in the final score here, it's a 78. So he's got 2 decent scores, one that is in the mid-80s at 84. So he should be okay there. But this is our last pressure-filled, actually second to last, because we've got Hayato Miyoshi, who's got a 73.
True.
Katsuhiro Ueo, 4th place in points. Brand new Autobots body kit, craziness on the S15.
He is a wild man, Ryan. He can pull some stuff out of thin air sometimes. So let's see what he's able to put together here tonight in the dark. His car looks, like you said, like a transformer. It's definitely out there, making a statement.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a big-time statement, and the statement he wants to make right now is something that justifies higher than a 78.
He looks really tied together in his new profile picture.
Yeah, he does.
The old picture we had where he had the long blown-out hair.
Yep.
Looked wild and crazy. Now he looks very professional with his little Villino hat on.
All right, incomplete on the first run. There he goes. He snaps it loose. Can hear the car cranking up. Uh-oh. This is not a good sign. But then much better on that second outside zone. So leaving points on the table on the first outside zone, the second outside zone, pretty good. Inside clip, pretty good. So we have to imagine that there is going to be a large point deduction from line on that first outside zone, Ryan. But how do you think the rest of the run played here? You could see very tentatively getting through the chicane, really taking a measured approach here.
Yeah, he did miss outside zone 1 by a pretty big margin. But you can see that he did a better job on outside zone 2. Wasn't tight on it, but it was fairly close. Did okay on inside clip number 1. Could have been closer, but pretty deep in outside zone 3. So car looked fairly settled throughout the run. I don't think there were any, glaring errors other than those line mistakes that he made.
The moment of truth has arrived for our final driver with an incomplete. And let's just say that he needs a 78 or higher to be safe. I think it's going to be real close, Ryan.
I think you're right, Ryan. And you're pretty accurate with your guesses.
Oof. 79. Wow. So another pressure cooker there with a driver into the top 5, competing for a championship.
Oh, it's raining?
And now things have just got more complicated, and this could not be the worst. This could not be more bad for this driver because he's got a 73. Let's hope the grip levels hold up here.
It doesn't look like it's raining where we are.
No, I don't feel anything coming down as I reach my hand out. He needs a 73. Miyoshi. Oh no, way overshoots that first inside clip. Drops a tire there, but stays within the cones of that final outside zone. Oh my goodness. You could see the sprinkles there at the start line, and it may have just been inconsequential sprinkles, but no question he saw that hitting his windshield.
Right, so let's see here on outside zone 1. I think he got out wide, but it looks like it's mid of that zone, so not really completely filling it. Did okay on zone 2, but then went wide on inside clip 1. Did all right on outside zone 3 by dropping a tire there and not hitting the cones. You know, it's a slight off, but not a serious one.
All right, so we started this broadcast around 4:20. It is now 2 minutes before 8 o'clock p.m. here at Fuji Speedway. 60 drivers down to 57, trying to make 32. And it's a 77. Wow, I think I feel like I'm overhearing the Japanese commentators saying that is probably going to be good enough.
I didn't know your Japanese was so strong. Right?
It's more in the inflection points.
Okay.
Anyways,
send this driver. Let's go.
All of these results will be official post-qualifying. Results will be up at formuladjp. Broadcast times are listed on all of our social media channels. But for this driver here, this is about breaking the tie. To break the tie, he needs an 89 or better. And that is a good way to start it. That is even better. That is looking unbelievable. And I'm going to say he's done it. Even with the thin margin between a 92 and an 89 for Koichi Yamashita, I feel like at first pass, that run was better. Let's take a look here and see where I'm wrong, but he gets a great start, Ryan.
Yeah, great initiation. Gets out nice and wide on that rumble strip. Might have been a little bit late on outside zone 1, a little bit late on outside zone 2. Kind of, a couple of little bobbles there, and he kind of early apexed inside clip number 1. So not terrible, but definitely left a couple of points out there.
Well, this is for the number 1 qualification spot. So we've been thrusted into many scenarios where we've had drivers trying to save their weekend by just making into the top 32. And now we're at the other end of the spectrum where we've got this driver here, Wataru Masuyama, second place in the championship points, currently with a 92. The next score that we see come up on the screen is going to determine whether or not he is likely to be our number 1 qualifier, because it seems unlikely that Andrew Gray is going to be able to step up in these conditions. Never say never. Of course, it's Andrew Gray, 3-time champion, but just from what we've seen so far, Andrew Gray is already into competition. He's got an 83. This right now is for the number 1 qualification spot. Boom.
Yep, he did it.
92. Wataru Masuyama, consistent in all conditions, consistent at every event in qualifying, continues to impress us, and he goes back-to-back with 92s. Different mistakes on different runs, but still comes through with a 92. Unbelievable.
Guess what I just heard, Ryan?
What?
Sounds like Andrew Gray is not going to be doing his second run. You can see his car with the 4-ways on, the hazard lights. I don't know if it's a mechanical issue. It has to be, as there's nothing else that could be keeping him out of competition right now, out of qualifying. So it looks like he's going to bow out of qualifying, and he's going to retain his first score, which was an 83, which will definitely put him, I'd say, in the lower, what would you say, the lower half definitely of the qualifying results.
Well, I think it goes without saying, even without seeing the official results, that we are going to have a crazy bracket tomorrow, because we very much have a situation where some of the top drivers have these lower than usual scores, and some of the drivers that have come in that we haven't seen before have showed some real grit. Yoshichika Tamagawa has an 89. Hokuto Matsuyama has an 86. These are drivers that competed in the first 5 laps of the newly registered drivers that we have that got us up to that 60 originally. So it is going to be a crazy top 32 bracket to tomorrow, and knowing what we saw here tonight with these conditions, the top 32 is going to be much different than the top 16 just on that basis alone.
You're right. I think this is going to mix up the bracket completely. It has the potential to completely mix up the results, the actual standings in Formula Drift Japan right now, just based on the qualifying that we've seen. So it comes down to being confident on this track, being able to get the power down properly, being able to spin those tires through different weather conditions, different track temperature conditions, all these different things. And then there's the confidence you have remembering where to put your car on the track, because it is such a challenging track visually as you're coming around from initiation to outside zone 1 and coming over that crest towards inside clip 1. You have to set the car up for something you can't see 2 steps ahead. So it's very, very challenging and really tests these drivers. And there you see Matsuyama getting out of his car. He is unofficially our #1 qualifier. I believe that's pretty solid on our end with our math that we have, and good for him.
Yeah, it has been a very eventful late afternoon into early evening as we start to bid you viewers adieu and close this baby out. If you are watching the English broadcast with us for the entire weekend, we will be live on the Formula Drift website, and we will also be live on the Formula Drift and Formula Drift Japan Facebook page, as well as a delayed English broadcast on YouTube. If you'd like to catch the Japanese broadcast, you can go directly to formulad.jp, and there are at least 2 links, one to YouTube and one to another provider, including the FD Japan website, where you can watch the Japanese broadcast. For everybody here at Fuji Speedway, Ryan Lantane, Brian Eggert, and Robbie Nishida, as well as all 60 drivers that started this incredible day of competition with us. I am Ryan Sage, and we'll see you tomorrow for the second half as we kick off what I like to call the essence of drifting, the head-to-head matchups here at the G-Shock Presents Formula Drift Japan Championship Round 3 at Fuji Speedway. We'll see you tomorrow, and good night, good morning, wherever you are.
実証雨に強いタイヤ。横浜は濡れた路面であなたの想像以上に止まる、止まる、止まる。日本最高グレードのウェット性能 A をあなたの車に。雨に強いタイヤといえば横浜。革新のカーボンベゼル。Bluetooth 搭載 G-SHOCK カシオ。The brightness called brilliant. Valendy.
Quality of Japanese craftsmanship. Grid.
What's up, guys? It's Frederick Alspo, and I use RSR suspension on all my drift cars. I love RSR. Iyo RSR Ichiban.
変だ。
伝統と革新、小倉クラッチのテクノロジーを凝縮、チャンピオンを取るためのクラッチ、小倉レーシングクラッチ ORC。
モティ
The brightness called brilliant, blinding and vivid. Valenti.